All right, you guys, we end our discussion tonight with the most important part of this meeting so far. Tacos and Margs. I need to know how you're going to conquer this. I need to know the recipes, and if you don't have one, I have a good one for you. But Seth, I don't know how to make tacos or margaritas. How am I supposed to have people over for Taco Tuesday? Did you not just listen to me? I have a plan for you. And it's so easy to follow. Today on Chop and Shake. All right, you guys, we're going to start off today's episode by chopping 2 onions, and we're going to thinly slice those, as a matter of fact, to get our marinated onions soaking in what I have is a vinegar medley. And as you can see here, I'm going as fine as I kind of can safely with these red onions. You want them to be thin to soak up that vinegar and really get the full flavor in there. I'm also going to julienne some carrots, and that'll be a nice accent to these onions. And as I mentioned, a trio of vinegars is going to be red wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and distilled white vinegar. We're going to do salt, and we're going to do sugar, and then we're going to add a splash of water. Now, your big challenge for this type of thing is finding a container big enough to fit all of these onions, carrots, all your vinegars, and you want all of your onions and carrots to be pretty submerged. You can get away with the top not being submerged in your liquid, but for the most part, you want all of it submerged so it all gathers that vinegar flavor. It'll be a great crunch and acid to these tacos. So I'm going to add in that 3/4 cups of water to just kind of get everything right to the top. Give it a good old shake, and that's going to go in the fridge for several hours before we make our tacos. Our next step is going to be a jalapeno and cilantro aioli. Now, be careful when making aiolis. You're going to want to do a bit of reading, understand how that type of thing is going to work. For mine today, I did 2 jalapenos, some cilantro, a couple cloves of garlic, and some lime juice, and got those nice and chopped before I added 4 egg yolks. And then I put that in my blender, and then you have to add 3/4 cups of extra virgin olive oil super slowly. Mine didn't quite come together as perfect as I'd want it to. It was a little more thin, but that can happen when you kind of take an aioli and turn it a little bit instead of sticking to a base recipe. Now we're going to get our meat ready to marinate. This is all prep work, hours before we're going to make tacos. We're going to make tacos tonight. I'm doing this in the morning. So I got a pound of Carne Asada. I'm going to slice all of that pretty thin. Make sure to cut against the grain. That's going to help you out in the long run. If you cut with the grain, it's going to be a lot harder to chew. If you cut against the grain, it's going to be a lot more tender. So for my marinade, I'm going to do a nice spoonful of garlic. I'm going to do some soy sauce, which is a kind of a weird pick with tacos, but that flavor is really going to help bring out some of the other flavors I've picked. So now onion powder, and then I'm going to add some chili powder and some cumin is going to be what we're going to add to our marinade. And then make sure you give that a really good shake. You want each individual piece of Carne Asada to be fully covered. Oh, and don't forget the lime juice. You want to make sure there's some of that in there as well, good acid for your marinade. So good shake it up really good. You want to make sure that marinade gets all over every single piece. It's going to have ample time to soak in the fridge before you cook it later tonight. So shake, throw that in the fridge. And the last bit of prep that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a thyme infused honey for our margaritas tonight. So I'm going to pick some of our thyme here at home. I'm going to throw that in a little bowl. I'm going to add about an ounce or 2 of honey, and that's just based on how many margaritas I'm going to make tonight. I'm going to make 2. I don't need a whole lot of honey. If you wanted to make a bulk batch, I would recommend making a honey thyme simple syrup.
3,000 whoop-hoos later.
So now we're here hours later. We've let everything soak. We're getting ready for actual dinner time. We're going to wrap our corn tortillas, throw those in the oven, let those bad boys steam on 350 while we cook everything else. They're going to be fine. They're not going to burn. In our saute pan, we're going to do a good chunk of butter. And I don't mean an amount of butter to just coat the pan. You want it to be like a nice heavy layer, almost as if it's like a base of a sauce. We're going to add in all of our carne asada that's been soaking for several hours. And when you put it into that pan, you're going to see that several of these pieces have kind of stuck together. You don't want that. Kind of pull each individual piece apart, allow them to cook on their own and not as a chunk. Once you get it all apart, let it sit there on medium-high heat. Get a little bit of a sear on each side. That marinade is going to kind of come out into a form of a sauce with that butter. Saute it a little bit. Allow all the flavors to get around, some cooking to go all the way around each piece that you have. And once you get near the end, what I did is I added a little bit more chili powder and a little bit of just generic taco seasoning that I had around. And I thought that flavor for my taste was absolutely perfect, but feel free to, of course, change this up a little bit to your own flavor, what you're going for your friends and family. Once we get that all tossed in there, it's really time to either plate up your tacos, or what I'm going to do is prepare our margarita. So I'm going to take our honey thyme and I'm going to rim a quarter of the glass with this. I'm not going to do the whole glass. I'm just going to do a nice little quarter. And then once we get our shaker ready, I'm going to make sure that's filled with ice, and I'm going to add about a half an ounce of thyme honey into the shaker directly in. And this is just for one margarita. This isn't for two. This is for one. So half an ounce of the honey. I'm going to add 3/4 of an ounce of triple sec. Adds a nice little tang to things. And then a ounce and a half of
Tequila.
And then 3 ounces of pineapple juice. That's going to be the bulk of this recipe. Now, what I'm going to add right on top is a dash of chili powder. And this isn't the only time I'm going to add a little bit of chili powder to this, as a matter of fact. So a dash of chili powder. And then what's really important, because of that thick honey, is that when you shake this really, really well. You're going to shake it aggressively, shake it for longer than you would typically shake a drink. So that way the honey really gets into the other liquids. And on top of that, it's going to make a nice little foam layer on the top that you'll see here in just a second. At the very end, get a little bit of a drizzle of the foam. And boom, there it is. So now I'm going to take my lime. I'm going to squirt that over the top for a nice little aromatic effect. And then I'm going to take my chili powder and just dash that around that honey rim and a little bit on top of that foam. And you have the perfect thyme honey chili margarita. And now it's honestly just time to get your tacos ready to enjoy a nice little Taco Tuesday. So I've got my corn tortillas down. I got 2 per taco for some stabilization. I'm going to take that jalapeno cilantro aioli and put it right on each individual taco shell. After that, I'm going to take our carne asada meat, and you can kind of do whatever you'd like to do here. If you want to add some more vegetables in, you can. I kind of go heavy on the meat. I like that to be the star of these tacos. So I got carne asada down. Next, I got just a simple slice of avocado over there. I'm going to add 1 slice to each taco, and then top with our marinated onions and carrots. They've sat for several hours in the fridge. And as a matter of fact, after this, I'm going to leave them in the fridge for a couple of days still in that vinegar before I strain them and really allow them to take on that flavor. As you can see, I added a touch of sour cream as well. And if you wanted to add some queso fresco, that's a great idea too.
Thank you guys so much for what's been an incredible first 4 episodes. As we get close to the end of the season, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a tease for what's going to be the last 2 episodes. I'm planning on doing a brunch episode for episode 5, and I'm going to smoke some ribs for episode 6. So make sure you stay tuned for those. Hit like, subscribe, and you'll get notifications for when those episodes come out. But for now, thanks for tuning in to Job and Shake.